Good afternoon and welcome to Connect Live. I guess it's almost afternoon. My name is Mark Bugby and I'm the Education Superintendent for the Northern New England Conference with all our great teachers and educators, administrators, and students. And today I'm with Pastor Glenn Holland, who's been a pastor for over 40 years. He's pastored working his way up the coast in the Florida Conference, Carolina Conference, and now he's graduated into the Northern New England Conference. Potomac, sorry, I forgot Potomac. And so he's been pastoring for 40 years, and he's married to, I'm sorry, I forgot your wife's name.
Donna.
Donna, I don't know how I forgot that, but to Donna, who's a pastor in Bennington, Vermont, and he loves to do photography, particularly birds, correct?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
awesome.
and running around the conference, it's a wonderful opportunity to just stop on the side of the
Yeah.
road occasionally and say, "Oh, look at that bird! I wonder if I can get it."
Nice, nice, yeah. I don't photograph birds a lot, but I was in Saipan. I got to photograph some that are kind of unique. The Marianas kingfisher.
Oh wow!
And the flycatcher, just beautiful, beautiful birds. So.
Yeah.
And do you have your life list that you use, or do you have some birds that you've seen?
I haven't really gotten into.
Okay.
Well, I did for years. I kept a list, and I've got a book, that since I took ornithology in college, or one class in ornithology,
Sure.
and so I started a book or a list then of and the date, location of sighting, and all that. I did that religiously for years, and then I guess it kind of slipped. And every once in a while, I've gone back and written in a couple of extra, especially as a bird that I don't see very often.
Right.
I'll stick it in the book. The hard. It's falling apart now. But
Yeah. So we could spend the rest of the time talking about birding, but I suppose we should talk about what we're here for.
Yeah.
So you're working with Plan. Well, let's back up and ask, what is NNEC PGTS Director?
Say it 10 times fast.
Okay. I have trouble saying it one time fast.
NNEC PGTS, Northern New England Conference Plan Giving and Trust Services Director.
Yeah.
That's what I'm officially titled, and that's when I was first asked if I would be interested in taking this job, my initial reaction was no.
So you're working with Plan Giving and Trust Services.
Right.
And that's just for old people, right?
Not exactly. Actually, certainly I do work with our senior citizens, but there's a lot to be done with younger folks. And especially if someone has a child or children, you need to be thinking about getting a will done, just because what if something happens to you? You don't want to be having the state decide what's going to happen with your kids. I mean, you'd probably want to have a personal decision made, and a will is a perfect way to do that. So we want young people as well as older folks. And Plan Giving is not just about when you die. It's what we can do while we live, and we plan gifts that we're passionate about, and that's one of the things I get really excited about with our work, because there's so many projects. I mean, some people are interested in Camp Laurelwell, some people are interested in education, some people are interested in evangelism, and how can I make a difference, that kind of thing. That's exciting.
Sure, it is exciting, and I can give a personal testimony about that. Just recently, we had a woman who had passed away from the Maryland Conference, and she had lived in Maine, and she gave a significant contribution to the education department, because education was her passion, and she had a couple particular things that she really wanted to donate a significant amount of money. So we are thankful for the work you do, because it does make a difference.
Oh, yeah.
So a couple things I noticed you were talking about there, and one was, it seems like younger people shy away from this, and it seems to me like reminiscent of healthcare and retirement, that they think, oh, I'll put this off till a later time. So how can we encourage them to really do this now when they're young?
Well, I think just being aware, and when something tragic happens with someone passing away, a couple gets killed in a car accident, their kids are left, those stories can be motivational because, I mean, we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what might happen.
Right.
And just to make some plans and preparation, just in case, it would be such a great thing to do. And I've had people say, well, you know, even older folks, they'll, maybe especially older folks, they'll say something like, well, I don't want to do a will because I might die sooner. Actually, there's been some research done in Europe on this, and they actually found that people that planned lived longer than those that didn't plan for their estate.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, no, counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting. If I could give a gift, is there a way that it would pay me for giving it?
Yes, there are some fascinating ways to do that. One that really got my attention when I was working on my certification for this job, I read about that you could actually have, so let's say for round numbers, you had $1 million in appreciated stock. And you knew that if you cashed it in, you'd have capital gains tax like crazy.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to pay the capital gains tax. And so instead of doing that, you put it into what's called a CRUT, a charitable remainder unit trust.
Okay.
And then it pays you 5% of the balance, 5% of the value of the gift, 5% per year. You can have it in monthly installments.
Okay.
So you're getting a monthly check.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you live for 20 years afterwards, and you had $1 million, 5% of $1 million would be 50,000, right?
Right.
Multiply 50,000 times 20. What do you have?
50,000 times 20.
20 would be a million,
$1 million,
right?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you spread $50,000 out over the course of a year.
Mm-hmm.
You get a huge tax deduction for giving the gift.
Sure.
But you're benefiting by the gift. Then
Right.
after you die, you could have for another 20 years, you could have one of your children or spread it between your children could get 50,000 per year for up to 20 years after you die.
Yeah.
And then after 20 years, and they've gotten $1 million from it.
Sure.
So you've given it twice now. You've given it to yourself and you've given it to your children.
Yeah.
But then when it's all said and done, whatever's left, which is probably more than $1 million now because of the investing that's been going on.
Right.
The charity, the Northern New England Conference can get the rest.
Yeah.
Now, the downside is, and many people choose not to do that because they really want to give to the church and they don't want to wait 20 years after they're gone to do it.
Right.
But it's a way that you could do it.
Yeah.
And when I saw that's giving it 3 times,
Yeah.
I thought, wow, isn't that cool?
That was pretty amazing.
I just had no idea that could happen.
And we know people want to give sacrificially just to give. But this sounds like an interesting instrument because we do live in a world where, we're taxed and all those kind of things. So it sounds like this might be an instrument that somebody wants to use, something different to give.
When you calculate the capital gains tax that you would be paying otherwise, it actually comes out better. I mean, you're not accruing additional principal on this amount that you've given.
Sure.
But when you consider the tax savings,
right,
it more than compensates for inflation and all those kinds of things that you might otherwise be getting money from if you had gotten the money out, paid the capital gains tax, and invested some other way.
Yeah, it reminds me what Jesus says, right? Give and it will be given unto you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what I love about God's system. When we're invested in God's system, God really does want to bless us and give to us. I mean, it's not the prosperity gospel as you hear it preached by some, but it is a giving God who wants to work out things for our benefit. So, but if I don't have a lot of money, then I don't need to worry about a will, right? It's not something I need to be concerned about.
Actually, maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading about Albert Schweitzer. He was trained in med school. and he was a great musician, and he ended up, after he got his medical degree, he got it not because he wanted to make money as a doctor.
Right.
He wanted to go to Africa and be a
Sure,
missionary.
sure.
He paid his own way to go to Africa and be a
Wow,
missionary.
yeah.
And when he died penniless.
Yeah.
He had a gold watch, he had a straight razor, and a few other items, personal items. That's it.
Yeah, so he literally gave it all.
He gave it all.
Yeah.
He did not need a will.
Yeah.
I mean, and so some people, if they really don't have any assets, they may have
Yeah.
been very generous in their life, but
Yeah.
they may not need a will.
Sure.
But if you have assets, if you have property, if you are thinking about either your children or the Lord's work or making a legacy for yourself or whatever, then by all means, get a will or
Yeah.
a trust or whatever you need to take care of it.
So it sounds like it's a highly individual matter.
It is.
Yeah. But I think most people that I know have some kind of asset.
Exactly.
Even if it's just property where they live.
I mean, sometimes people that they may not have a lot in assets. They might have insurance though,
Sure.
and the insurance could be worth significant.
Right.
Young families may not have much, but they may have insurance, and
Yeah.
so that could bless their family. A portion of that might bless the Lord's work in some way.
Yeah, and you hear a lot about leaving a legacy. And wouldn't that be one way to leave a legacy? Is
Oh,
to leave
absolutely.
financial.
And there are so many ways that people could leave a legacy. You mentioned one already with just this lady that left something to help out with the education department.
Sure.
But there are many ways to do that. And so I love talking with people to see what their passion is, to find out, what they would like to do in serving the Lord in some way, even after they're gone. But there may be just an endowment going on right now
Right.
that people would like to contribute toward. You can contribute to an endowment that's already existing, or if you have at least $100,000 to put towards something, you can specify if you want something to go for evangelism, or if you want something to go for the youth camp or whatever. You can specify exactly how you would like for that to be used and leave a legacy in that way.
Sure. So let's unpack that for a second. So the church is involved with so many different kinds of work: evangelism, youth, education, ADRA through disaster relief, community services. I mean, the list could just go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that they could actually specify where that money goes.
Yes, you don't have to just generally give it to the Northern New England Conference, for example. You could say, oh, I want $50,000 to go to community services at my local church. I could specify certain things. One of the things that Donna and I have been talking about that would be really cool is if we had an endowment that was set up that would perpetually fund a full salaried Bible worker that the conference could place anywhere in the conference that they felt would be benefiting by a full salaried Bible worker. So
Right.
where's the need the greatest?
Yeah.
That we could salary someone that going forward, and there will always be a need for Bible workers.
Sure.
Until Jesus comes, we'll need Bible workers. What a blessing that would be. And it would cost, I asked Daniel about this, it would cost like $1.2 million to fully fund an endowment fund of that nature.
Yeah.
But we could start with even $100,000 if
Yeah.
we could come up with $100,000, get it started, and then we could still build on it until we could get to the 1.2 million and actually get a fully funded Bible. That would just be so cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And now that you got me thinking, I mean, I have to do my plug for the education department.
No, I heard that.
and I've seen where we've had different funds in schools where people have left money behind, and it makes a huge difference. So if people can give, like you said, to a particular school or to the education department, where you could fund an endowment that could keep paying in for people to be able to afford Christian education, something
absolutely.
like that would be excellent. Yeah. So does your department actually prepare wills and trusts?
No.
Okay.
We're not attorneys.
Right.
And Petronella Hunt is my associate, and she's, neither of us are attorneys, but we do assist people because we have studied and had special training on the charitable giving portion of this. And many attorneys don't get a lot of training on that part.
Sure.
And so what we can do is say, well, if you're wanting to be a blessing, if you want to leave a legacy, and you're looking at tax savings, if you're looking at various issues, what's going to be best for your situation,
Yep.
you may have a house, you may have stocks, you may have other investments, you may have property, and you may be trying to decide which would be the best, considering charitable giving, which would be the best to give to save the most on taxes or whatever. And so that's where we have special software that has been designed especially for helping to run scenarios for that kind of thing, so that we can kind of look at each individual situation and say, well, this might be the better way. Instead of doing this with your kids, you might rather do it this way, and that way you could it would save on taxes or whatever.
So they come to you, and then they'll go to an attorney or someone else that does that kind of financial planning. And
correct. And so after they come to us, what we also can do, especially with young families, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
We don't pay for the will in advance because we don't want to enter into a conflict of interest. Instead, what we do is we tell them, save your receipt after you've gotten your will and after you've paid for it, give us the receipt. We'll reimburse you to make sure that it's taken care of and it didn't cost you. It cost you time. You had to think about it.
Right.
We want everybody to think about it. You
Sure.
know? That's the thing. We want people to think about it and decide what they want to do. And with a simple will and with estate documents like that, we will pay for or reimburse the cost of it. That way, you've actually paid for it. There's no conflict of interest going on. You saw the attorney. We didn't do it for you.
Right.
That could look a little fuzzy,
Right.
If somebody wanted
Right.
to contest it or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
So by you going directly to the attorney yourself, and what we also do is we provide a list of attorneys that that other Adventists have had satisfaction with. And so that list, we vetted a bit. So if you have no clue as to who you want to do it, you might want to look at our list. If you know someone that you would like to do it, then by all means, go with that person.
Yeah. And for all of you DIYers, do-it-yourselfers, there is software out there and programs now you can make your own will. And if you have simple assets and not complicated, we actually use that when we went to Saipan, and it was very helpful.
Sometimes that works. Our legal advice is that it would be better, and we would rather pay for your will through an attorney,
Yep.
or making sure that it's done that way, rather than using a do-it-yourself. Because sometimes, if you just go online, you can find that there are lots of issues sometimes, and you don't know.
Right.
Some are better than others, and they say they're legal in your state, but maybe it would be better to get a real attorney in your state to sign off on it.
Right.
That would be the safer thing to do. So just to be on the safe side, we encourage people to go that route.
through a
Although
lawyer.
you're right, today it's much easier to get a legal will that's done pretty well online.
Yeah.
But we would just rather err on the side of being sure that you
Right.
got something
Right.
good.
Makes sense. So what do you like best about your job as stewardship director?
Oh, wow. I think I have one of the best jobs in the conference. I enjoy visiting with people and helping them see that there's a better way to do something, or find the best path for them, and to bless the Lord's work in some way. And I've heard so many stories from people that say, I'm so excited because now I'm able to sleep well at night, knowing that if something happens to me, everything's taken care of, and I'm able to give even after I pass. It's going to bless the Lord's work in some way, and that just really makes my day.
Yeah. So you and I have talked about me personally coming to see you. So if I was interested in setting up a time to talk to you about a will or my assets, how I want them distributed after I pass, what's the best way to do that?
Like I did with you, I gave you a form.
Okay.
And it's just a fill-in-the-blank form that you can spend a couple hours with, and when you finish doing that, then we can talk about that, look it over a little bit, and decide what you really, really want to do. And that form, you can also carry it with you. When you talk to an attorney, then you'll have all the answers ready, streamlined your time with the attorney, so you don't have to, well, let me go look that up. And, you're paying them by the hour or by the minute, I guess. And so it's a way to have that information. And also, after your document is completed, you might want to hang on to that form and put it with the original document, just to make sure the information is available for whoever your executor will be when the time comes.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're really able to streamline and focus the process for people who really want to make sure that they can leave a legacy wherever they would like to leave it inside the church and help them out with that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So do you have any online resources that might be helpful for people or other things that you can suggest?
Yeah, I'm proud of my website. nnecgift.org.
Okay.
Not nnec.org. That's a good website too, but mine's better. nnecgift.org. That's my favorite website. That's one that you can get all kinds of resources on, information about the things that we do in our office. And I would encourage everyone to go to that website, even today, go to that website, nnecgift.org, and sign up for our free newsletter if you're not already getting the free newsletter. It's really, really good. I just want you to check it out. You can unsubscribe if you ever want to, but I don't think you will. You'll want to get this newsletter weekly coming into your inbox. And it just has lots of ideas and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about plan giving and trust services, but you also are
Stewardship director.
Stewardship director. So how does that different? Is there overlap? Is it totally a different thing? Or?
There's some differences, but it's a lot of overlap. A lot of overlap. But stewardship is, sometimes people are having struggles in knowing how to deal with the financial situation that they're in. Petronella Hunt is actually really good at personal counseling with people. She's got certifications in that line. And so we offer that. We also offer seminars. Both she and I are doing seminars around the conference in churches. If you'd like to have a seminar in your church, we talk about everything from buying houses to cars to how to not have more than one financial argument per year with your spouse. I mean, we're talking stewardship now.
Yeah.
We're talking about how to get along and be good stewards of the property that God has given us. And so these are things that we do. And so if your church has not yet had one of us come over, talk to your pastor and let's get on the schedule.
Sure. So I've heard this many times, but maybe you could set the record straight. I've heard it many times that Jesus in the Bible, and I've never done the research myself, talks more about money than anything else. Is that true?
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my assessment.
And why do you think that's the case? Because obviously his kingdom is a spiritual kingdom. Why do you think he talks about money so
Well, he didn't say that money is the root of all evil.
Right. That's correct.
He said the love
of
money is the root of all evil, and all kinds of evil. And so I think we need to hold on loosely to the stuff that we've been given and recognize that if we get too much of a love relationship with this, then there's a problem. But the money is not the problem.
Right.
We're the problem usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're talking stewardship, it's not just about money, right?
No, it's not just about money. It's about our time. It's about our talents. It's about our love for the Lord and the way we utilize all that He's given us in His work. And if we can all get that straight,
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah. Well, I've heard it said that if God has your heart, He'll have your money.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So do you just do this at the office, or do you visit people in their homes, or how does that work?
Yes.
So all of the above,
all
right?
of the above.
A, B, C, D, or
and
E?
even though Donna and I are now living in Bennington, Vermont,
Yeah.
if you're in northern Maine, I can still make a trip to see you, or we can do a Zoom call. Yeah. Can make it work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So can I have a short prayer with you as we close?
That'd be great.
All right. Father God, we want to thank you for all the gifts that you give us. And Lord, of course, you are the greatest gift. And we just pray that you'll help us to be wise in the resources that you have given us, and use the resources in terms of people and organization to help make the most intelligent decisions with those resources. We thank you for Glenn and his ministry, and just pray that you'll continue to bless him and help him as he directs people to wise choices with the financial resources and gifts that you have given them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.